All right, again, we're here at the Donald Trump rally, and we are going to interview some Trump supporters, hopefully.
I want to know if there are aliens and the U.S. government is holding them, so I expect Donald Trump to go ahead and find that out and release that information on day one.
Are you at all concerned about the CARES Act, $6.2 trillion, basically bailout for corporate entities and big pharma industrial complex that Trump shoveled a boatload of money over to?
Jeez.
And he shut down America for 30 days.
Yeah, I was really upset with that. I'm a business owner, so, I mean, you know.
How did it affect you?
It crushed us. I mean, it chopped my business in half.
Government is not the answer to our problem.
I'm with you on the
Do you trust government?
No, I don't trust government. I'm with you on
But you're voting for government.
Listen, you want to, listen.
Daddy government, please save me. Have you ever heard of the term sheeple?
I don't know. Is this an insult? Because it sounds like you're going to insult me.
No,
there are people out here in Atlanta, Georgia, that will steal the sweet out of sugar. Do you agree with me that what they did to Trump when they raided and they went through his wife's panty drawer was just absolutely...
You mean the FBI?
Yeah, the FBI.
The FBI should be dissolved and disbanded.
How many guys do you think sniffed her panties?
I don't know. We're out here at the stadium in Duluth, Georgia, and the seating capacity for this venue is 13,000, and I'm already hearing that there are people inside saying that it's getting to capacity. People are already starting to walk out, but as you can see over there, the line is still wrapped around the parking lot, and they still have to go through that over there. Just got a sea of MAGA hats right up there as far as the eye can see, all the way to the tents at least. We have a lot of excitement for Donald J. Trump. Just make an appeal to anybody who would want to vote for Kamala Harris. What is the best case scenario for Donald Trump? Why should Democrats vote for him rather than her?
Well, I tell you what, here's the deal. If you hate going to the grocery store and paying a ridiculous amount for ground beef, T-bone steaks, especially my ribeyes, which are about 30-40% higher.
Don't touch the man's ribeyes.
Yeah, the second reason is I got a little girl who just graduated from the University of Tennessee, has a great job, still won't be able to afford a normal house in 3 years. And thirdly, if you like a guy who's going to stand up for America, make sure that we have closed borders and we let our American citizens have the right and the opportunities that we were afforded by our ancestors, then you got to vote for Donald Trump. Now, if you like free stuff and if you like going to, certain areas where, it's a take your, your life in your own hands, and you probably want to vote for Kamala. But other than that, you got to vote for Trump. 47, baby, come on.
Is there anything that Donald Trump did in his first term that you absolutely did not like and could not endorse?
I tell you what, the thing I wish he didn't do as much was I wish he would have handled the COVID thing better, but I wish he would have kept us all open like our governor here in Georgia did, Brian Kemp. But other than that, I would like to see him probably hire some better people and get rid of disloyal people that are against his agenda. I don't mind a guy who, wants to throw out other ideas, and I think Donald's going to probably listen to him. He's a guy who likes a difference of opinion. But in other words, I expect him to do a better job of vetting people and hiring better people and getting people in there that know the system, because it was rigged from them from the start.
Well, is there anything else other than you're referring specifically to Operation Warp Speed, right?
Yeah, I'm referring to that, and I'm also referring to some of the cabinet posts, especially some of the generals that he had in there. This guy, Milley, needs to go. He needs to be out on his ass the first day. I wasn't real happy about some of the chief of staffs that he had. I think some of the cabinet positions that he appointed were a little weak. I think this time around, I think he knows more. I think he's going to be better positioned to hire better people. And also, one thing I do want to know is I want to know if there are aliens and the U.S. government is holding them. So I expect Donald Trump to go ahead and find that out and release that information on day one.
What about people in Congress who have dual citizenship?
I think dual citizenship is an absolute travesty. You can't be. How can you be loyal to 3 or 4 different countries, let alone 2? So I think that needs to be revoked right away. It's not fair and it's not right that billionaires get to buy a citizenship in Angola Saint, one of the Caribbean islands, and be able to travel without with different passports. So I'm not in favor of that.
I'm going to give you a little bit of pressure. Okay, I'm going to ask you a really hard question this time, because so far they've been softballs, and I want you to know where I'm coming from politically. I really believe that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are criminals, and they need to be tried as criminals, just like Obama should be. But I'm not going to cut Trump slack, okay? Because I'm against Kamala Harris because she wants to institute red flag gun confiscation laws, assault weapons ban. But Donald Trump also wants gun confiscation laws under red flag, and he did the bump stock ban. What is your reaction to that? Because that's antithetical to shall not be infringed.
Well, I'm a big Second Amendment guy. I've got a lot of guns. I probably have more rebel flags because I'm from Georgia. But as far as the bump stock ban goes, I'm against that. I think that reasonable citizens and reasonable Americans should be able to possess weapons of war just because in case something were to happen. And that's the only thing that keeps our government somewhat responsible towards its citizenry. I mean, there is not a country in this world that would ever invade the United States of America because there are so many guns, and the citizens, they would be in such a struggle and an insurgency they couldn't overtake us. Now, as far as red flag laws go, I think there's a lot of lunatics out there, and I don't think lunatics or drug dealers or drug addicts should have guns. And if you want to talk about Biden is a nasty guy. He's mean.
He's a criminal.
He's a criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely run a business of graft for his whole life. How does a guy who's only been in government for his whole life have a $20 million mansion in Delaware? Explain that to me. Apparently, his basement that he was holed up in for the last, during COVID, where he ran the 2020 election, was crafted by the finest Philadelphia craftsmen. It's unbelievable. It's opulent, wood paneled, the whole deal. Believe it or not, I believe that Hunter Biden's actually the smartest one of them all.
And that's saying not much. A little bit more pushback. The thing that I was disappointed about in the run-up to the 2016 election, you heard nothing but Hillary Clinton's evil, I'm going to jail her. She's evil, I'm going to jail her. He stopped talking with the rhetoric. He didn't jail her, and on the inauguration day, he led the entire banquet room in a standing ovation for Bill and Hillary Clinton and looked over at them and said, got a lot of respect for those people. What is your reaction to that?
As far as Trump having respect for the Clintons and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. And Henry Kissinger.
Well, I mean, Henry Kissinger can kiss my ass. As far as Bill and Hillary Clinton goes, I've got a piece of my heart that respects Bill Clinton, and I'm not here to judge. No one's perfect, but as far as the economy back in the 90s and when I got my start, we were pretty fortunate to live through that.
The last American president to balance the budget. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think he did a good job. I wasn't really that concerned about him getting a BJ in the Oval Office. I could see how it was a bad deal for a lot of people, but as far as Hillary Clinton goes, I mean, she's a mess. I mean, I think she, probably doesn't smell very good. I mean, not to be mean, but Hillary Clinton, to me, this is probably the greatest thing that ever happened in the last 10 years was her not being elected president. I think she's, a corrupt individual, too, and I think she doesn't like people like you and me.
Are you at all concerned about the CARES Act, $6.2 trillion, basically bailout for corporate entities and big pharma industrial complex that Trump shoveled a boatload of money over to at taxpayer expense?
I'm not real familiar about the CARES Act. Is that something to do with the COVID Act?
Stimulus, yeah.
Jeez.
And he shut down America for 30 days.
Yeah, I was really upset with that. I'm a business owner, so, I mean,
How did it affect you?
It crushed us. I mean, it chopped my business in half. And, they were throwing out money like it was no big deal. So all our employees, were out of work, and we ended up paying them anyway. And then when they came back, what used to be $25 an hour wage for a reasonable employee is now $40 an hour, which is good for them. But with the amount of inflation we have, because there's so much money that they just gave away for no big reason other than the fact they wanted to have more control, it created the problem we're in now. So looking back at it, I mean, everybody can Monday morning quarterback. At the time, it seemed reasonable. I will say this, I got tricked into getting a COVID vaccine, and I feel like I'm one of the dumbest guys in the world for doing it. This guy over here, my partner in work,
Business partner
told me, he goes, "You're nuts getting that COVID vaccine." And I was like, man, I'm trying. And I think three weeks later, I ended up getting it. So as far as that goes, I mean, yeah, looking back at it,
So help me understand this. You're telling me that because of Trump's policies and his shutdown May to April 2021 with COVID, and it decimated your business, is what you say, but you're still going to vote for him? I'm not getting the logic here.
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't think that the guy had a choice. I think it was a complete, utter, just snowball effect.
Then does leader of the free world mean anything?
As far as what he was supposed to do, I think he made a mistake with that, but that is by no means do I think that he really had much of a choice in the matter. I think at the time, looking back, I never would have gotten the vaccine. When he shut the economy down, it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. Look, we all make mistakes. That doesn't mean I'm not going to vote for the guy. I think the guy's fantastic, best president we've had in my lifetime, maybe on the par with Ronald Reagan. But looking back at it, yeah, I mean, it was probably a mistake. He should have opened it up a little quicker, but he was in a fight for his life to try to get reelected. Yeah, and they cheated.
Best president on what metric? Because he racked up $8.4 trillion in national debt, $6.2 trillion with the stimulus package. You put it all together, he racked up more debt and it's transgenerational debt slavery. Your grandchildren, my grandchildren are going to be paying for this for a long time. How is that good? How is that making America great again?
Well, I think that the debt problem is, a consequence of, out of control Congress, a out of control society where, entitlements have overtaken our country. Everyone expects something. I think that, he hasn't been great on that, but unfortunately, the current administration is absolutely out of control with that. And if she were to win, it could even double with her presidency. Now with him, I think that's something that he needs to work on and get under control. And I think he gives our best opportunity to make that happen.
The War Power Summary from the Pentagon says that Obama every day of his presidency, dropped 39 bombs a day on foreign nations. The same summary says that Donald Trump dropped 46 bombs a day, and while it's heralded that he didn't start any new wars, he definitely beefed up the American military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us against, dropped more bombs, killed more people, put a vaccine out there that currently, according to the VAERS report, is killing a lot of Americans. What could Donald Trump do to keep you from voting for him if that didn't do it?
Well, here's the deal. If you want to talk about wars and dropping bombs, I mean, there's a lot of bad guys out there that need to disappear. So as far as a tough guy, that's who I want to vote for, is a tough guy. I'm not looking for the de-wimpification of this country. So that I am in support of killing terrorists. I'm in support of closing our borders and making sure no terrorists come in here. And as far as, the goes, it's people, that was a game time call, and at the time the decision seemed to be the right one, so I'll give him a pass on that. But as far as his ability to keep us out of wars, I've got more confidence in him to project a roar of strength where guys won't mess with us as much, hopefully. So I'm for his foreign policy, and I'm also for his America First policy. We got to take care of our own, and if it's in our interest, we need to concentrate on that. I do not believe the Ukraine war is in our interest, and that's something that we need to end quick, and we need to end it now, and we need this guy to go in there. Ukraine's going to have to suck it up and give the Crimea away and the Donbass region and just go ahead and eat crow on this, because there's no way they're going to defeat Vladimir Putin. And for us to send all this money over there when we got half our country is struggling with paying the daily bills is a damn travesty. And Donald Trump's going to fix that.
How is Donald Trump American first when he just said 3 weeks ago from the Jerusalem Post that he wants Israel to control Congress?
Well, I don't know about that. I didn't hear that. As far as Israel goes, I'm a big supporter of Israel. And as a matter of fact, if I was president, I would green light them to take out their oil refineries and their nuclear weapons program.
Do you know about the USS Liberty?
I do not. Tell me about that.
The USS Liberty in 1967 was patrolling the waters.
Tonkin. Yeah.
No, that's Gulf of Tonkin episode. That started Vietnam. But,
yeah.
USS Liberty in 1967 during the Six-Day War, it was one of our naval vessels that was mercilessly bombed for 2.5 hours by the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, and they knew it was Americans. There were 234 Americans on board. 171 got severely burned, hospitalized. 34 died. Israel never apologized for it, said they intentionally did it. How can Israel be our friend when they hate America? Israel controls us through the Federal Reserve because that's the Rothschilds banking cartel. How can you possibly be for Israel when they're so against us?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't know about the U.S. liberty, so that's not something that I've ever heard about. But if that's the case, I'm sure there's some extenuating circumstances with that. And secondly, you sound like you might be arguing the other side here, because I appreciate that as far as...
Arguing what other side?
Well, the side that you don't like the Jews in Israel. And I can see there's a lot of people that feel that way. I understand.
There are Jews who live. There's Zionists that set up. You know what the Balfour Declaration is?
I know what a Zionist is, and I understand how Israel was formed, and I understand what they're fighting for. And listen, let's face it. It comes down to human nature. The reason why people don't like the Jewish people is I think a lot of it stems from envy and jealousy. All right, they're successful. They control a lot. I get it. All right, the left calls them oppressors, but as far as their right to exist, they have a right to exist. They have to look out for themselves, and I think it's vital that we protect that. They've built a country in 60, 70 years, since more longer than that, 80, 90 years, since the World War II, that is absolutely the jewel of the Middle East. It needs to be protected. The people, all they want to do is live. They were not the ones that instigated this current war.
So Donald Trump has showed himself to be anti-Second Amendment with bump stocks, telling...
I don't think he's anti-Second Amendment.
What's bump stock?
I think a bump stock is something that I could see. Sometimes you have to compromise. Okay, so when a lunatic goes out and shoots up a concert in Las Vegas and has bump stocks with his ARs, I mean, there's going to be some compromises you're going to have to make.
You know, that's what Democrats say to grab the guns, right? They're like, well, if people walk into a school with an AR-15, we got to ban the AR-15s, which means that all Americans who own AR-15s, which you're probably one, I am one, get criminalized by the government. That's what Donald Trump did, same as Kamala Harris.
I don't think that it's an issue of we have to be black and white. I think there's a lot of gray. And I think in order for this guy to govern the way that he needs to govern, he's going to have to strike a consensus when it comes to certain things that are absolutely, might be abhorrent to guys like you and me as far as, the Second Amendment goes. But there is some wiggle room to shut them up sometimes. Now, I am 100% for the right to own a bump stock, even an automatic weapon. But I get the point when the Democrats, between banning them, all right, and not banning them, there's got to be compromise. And I think this president is willing to negotiate in our best interest.
Is there compromise in the Second Amendment?
Not if you're taking away my guns. But there is compromise with automatic weapons and probably weapons of war. Now, if I was president, I would, if I was king, I would say everybody gets to have a gun and self-protect their property and their family.
Well, that's what the Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed.
I get it.
So if somebody, according to Patrick Henry and the founding fathers, anybody who infringed was a tyrant, and they were loading muskets.
Well, I mean, my point is this. I'm a Second Amendment guy, and I will always vote for the Second Amendment. But I do believe that you can gain some valuable compromises and get some other concessions to afford ourselves to have the right to bear arms beyond the ability to, where they're going to buy back guns or take our guns.
Well, it's a good conversation, but I am truly perplexed at somebody who got decimated in their business due to policies of Trump.
I wouldn't say decimated. I would say, chopped in half. Well, it crushed us. I mean, it chopped my business in half. I wouldn't say decimated. Well, it crushed us. And I don't know.
That's bad.
And those weren't necessarily, policies because of that. I mean, the policies of those where everybody, those are client issues too. If a client, is crushed, they're going to, not call you anymore. I mean, that happened to a lot of my friends' businesses. That happened to a lot of people's businesses around the country.
A third of small businesses went under.
Yeah. And by the way, a third more are going to be gone if Kamala Harris gets elected president. You think she likes small businesses? No. You know what she likes? Big government and institutional control.
That is true, and so does Donald Trump, like the same exact thing, or he would never given the bankers that much control.
Well, who are you voting for?
I can't vote for the chains of my own oppression.
So you're saying that you're just going to sit this one out?
I have to. I can't vote for the lesser of two evils because they're still evil.
So does that mean you're a never Trumper, or are you
Trump to me, Trump is a tyrant, just like Kamala Harris is a tyrant. Because I want to make America great again in truth.
All right. So who's your guy?
There is no guy. All of them are.
Well, who's been your guy? Who's been your guy in history then? Do you know anything about the presidents? Like, I mean, have you read Bill O'Reilly's book?
Maybe Andrew Jackson.
Okay.
He wanted to kill the banks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Trump has a bust of him in his office when he was elected.
Sure wish
the
he would
first
follow
time.
his policies.
It's kind of tough now, with what we're doing.
Not really. He could literally, as a president of the United States, if you're the leader of the free world, you can create a parallel economy with a parallel currency, move away from the dollar, let the Federal Reserve die, get rid of the IRS. He could have done it. It was in his power to do it, and he didn't do it. And all he had to do is fill his cabinet with good people and not swamp things.
What's your name?
Brian,
I'm JD. So I don't know, I could sit here and talk about Trump and, his flaws, but as far as, our country goes, this guy has to get elected. And most importantly, this guy has to get elected for the safety of our country, the safety of our culture, and most importantly, our economy needs this jumpstart. So many small businessmen like me, so many medium-sized businesses like ours are waiting for just some kind of hope and just invigoration in the economy, and it's going to take this guy to win. Now,
he cut your business in half, and you're looking for him for hope.
He cut my business in half. COVID cut my business in half. Even if he had kept the economy open, there was no way to do it. He had the left screaming bloody murder.
But it was
Cuomo, who got fired for having inappropriate conversations with girls. They eat their own on the left.
Yeah, but
eat their own. There was nothing he could do. It was actually the force of nature, just out of nowhere. I would convince you that the best chance for this country moving forward is to vote for Trump. Now, here's the thing. If Trump does not win, there's not going to be a lot of mental health issues from these people. Most of these people are probably going to go back. They'll be upset for a little while, maybe not watch the news. Hope to God that we keep the Senate so we can block all these progressive left radical ideas.
Why does that
but
have
if
to be
she wins, if he wins, there is going to be a mental health crisis like you've never seen before in this country. There's going to be drinking. There's going to be broken marriages.
But what about
There's going to be violence in the streets, because we all know mental health issues lead to violence. So that's what we have to look forward to when he wins. And you know what? I say good. I want to see it.
Government is not the answer to our problem.
I'm with you on the government.
Do you trust government?
No, I don't trust government. I'm with you on the
But you're voting for government.
Listen, you want to listen.
Daddy government, please save me.
I wish, man. Where do I go?
That's what you're saying when you're.
Where do I go and get in line for that stuff? Because you know what?
Have you ever heard of the term?
Give me a big government contract, Kamala, with my business, I'll vote for you. How about that?
Have you ever heard of the term sheeple?
I don't know. Is this an insult? Because it sounds like you're going to insult me.
No, I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to insult.
I think that you got to understand that this is the best system we got. This is probably I don't know. What do you want to go back to?
Freedom?
Freedom of
Liberty?
what? Freedom? You want to have no government? Because I will tell you right now, there are people out here in Atlanta, Georgia, that will steal the sweet out of sugar, okay? And that's why we have to have government, to make sure the animals don't run amok.
Because we have evil people, we need to put evil people in government to make sure that we're safe from the evil people.
We have to keep evil people. We have to protect my kids and everybody else's kids.
There's
the old people, the young people.
You know for a fact that there's no more evil, psychopathic people than those who have their hands around government. You know that.
Oh, I think definitely. I think probably the psychopathic element in our Congress is probably around 25-30%. Absolutely, I do.
Only 25 or 30%?
Yeah, probably.
Do you know that a conservative estimate of deaths by the American government in the last 100 years is 250 million, excluding wars? Government has killed more people, our government, in the last 100 years.
So what kind of deal are you in as far as what kind of clubs do you hang out in?
I don't have a club. We just all need to get together and realize that the government has ruined us.
What's your movement about? What's your, you personally, do you have a movement?
Sound money,
okay.
Free markets, and freedom for everyone. And that doesn't come by the hands of government.
I don't even understand when people say freedom, because Kamala Harris uses the word freedom, Trump uses the word freedom, you use the word freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got a different definition of freedom.
You want me to give you mine?
Yeah, let me hear yours.
No man has a higher claim over the life and property of another man. I'm not over you, you're not over me. Secondly, Never initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who have not done anything wrong, which is what the government specializes in. And the third thing is the simple golden rule. Do to others what you would want done to you. Conversely, don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. And if anybody
I'm on that train.
and if anybody violates that, they're criminals and they should die.
I'm with you on that train, and I don't think that you're not going to get an argument for that, especially the third one. But as far as the government goes and, inflicting their power on us, yeah, I have a problem with that. Yeah. Ruby Ridge, I had a problem with that. I even have a problem with David Koresh getting bulldozed when 70 children were in there, burned to death. And Bill Clinton, you're responsible for that. And so is Janet Reno.
Yes.
Fuck her.
And why was it wrong to do what they did to the Branch Davidians?
Well, because you know what? As long as people aren't getting hurt, the only avenue they had to say is that children were being abused. But you know what they could have done? They could have picked them up at the hardware store.
Yep.
You know what they want to do? They want to show their might, and they want to flex their muscles, and they want to go in there blazing cowboys and guns. That I don't like, okay?
We agree.
Yeah.
We agree on that.
Do you agree with me that what they did to Trump when they raided and they went through his wife's panty drawer was just absolutely...
You mean the FBI?
Yeah, the FBI.
The FBI should be dissolved and disbanded.
How many guys do you think sniffed her panties?
I don't know. I'm concerned about
I bet you a few of them did.
You know what I'm more concerned about than that? Red flag laws. Anti-Second Amendment laws.
You're getting into a point there. You make a good point, and I know I said this earlier. The red flag laws applied by a tyrannical government, they can basically classify anybody a psycho and take your guns away. That's a problem. I agree.
Let me give you...
And I don't trust anybody to make that decision.
Let me give you a piece of history most Americans don't know about Donald Trump. And if this applied to Obama or anybody else, I'd be telling you about it, but I don't know that it does. Back in 1990, he got upside down in a business venture called Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. You remember that?
Yeah.
He had to get a bailout. The person who stepped forward to bail him out was a guy named Wilbur Ross. Wilbur Ross worked for a company called Rothschilds Inc. Rothschilds Inc. bailed Donald Trump out to the tune of $600 million to $2 billion. Nobody knows exactly what it was. 25 years later, Donald Trump filled his cabinet with a guy named Wilbur Ross in the Commerce Secretary position. All the globalists are in bed together.
Yeah, that's how it works. And the other thing is, too, is when you owe the bank $600 million, that's not a you problem, that's a bank problem. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that you are good on that $600 million. Me and you, a couple $1 million, bankrupt. Take your house, take your watches, take your cars, take your kids' organs if they have to. Yeah, so you know what? The way the world works, and unfortunately this is always how it's been, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
So tell me how your vote can change if monetary and economic policy is solely at the control of the Federal Reserve. When Kamala Harris goes into office, Federal Reserve's in power. Donald Trump, Federal Reserve's in power. Yeah. They're the puppet masters, and those are just the puppets. So how is you voting for a puppet going to change anything when the Federal Reserve is still going to be in control, still wreaking havoc, still devaluing the dollar?
You're getting a little bit, I don't know a lot about that other than the fact that the Federal Reserve probably acted a little early on lowering interest rates. The Federal Reserve...
They shouldn't have control of interest rates.
I don't know. What other system do we want to go to?
Sound money.
Sound money? I mean,
we also have we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum. There are a lot of other options, but we can't use them as a reserve currency because it's against the law.
I mean, I do believe the government has some responsibility to make sure we have good roads, good water. There's some things, I'm the biggest guy who will say I don't trust the government and I think big government's terrible. And I do think the reason why I'm voting for Donald Trump, and I'll say this again, is because given the choices, he's the best choice. I like his tough guy stance. I think he's going to protect us. I think he's going to close the borders. I think he's going to help with the inflation rates. And I also think that our country culturally is going to be better off. Bring back more traditional values. Get rid of boys and girls sports. Get rid of transgender surgeries that are funded by the government. Make sure that they don't shove stuff down my kid's throat and my throat on cultural issues. I'm tired of it. So that's why I'm voting for him. And you know what? The guy's not perfect, but I love him, and I hope he wins. And Brian, it's been great talking to you.
Man.
And
make men men again. Make men men again. Look at that. Hey, thanks, man.
Hey, man, that was fun.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I mean, we got,